Welcome to the escape room. Enjoy the game.
Time to play the game. Time to play the game.
Welcome, everybody, to the DIU Escape Crew Podcast. I'm Dom.
I'm Phil.
And here's Phil, back from Florida.
Back from the dead.
Podcast before this, you heard that we did a state-to-state podcast where we had Little Philip on.
Yeah. Philip squared.
Yeah, and it's the first time we did this remote broadcast to talk to other people, and so we decided to try it again on this one.
In the same state this
But in the
time.
same state, yes.
Interstate.
Yes. We are using Zoom as our audio connection. You will not see video of this whatsoever.
No.
'Cause I'm not recording it, and you don't need to see our ugly mugs.
No, I'm pretty enough as it is. You don't need to see me on the video.
Yeah, it is what it is. I take up too much of the camera. That's how wide I am.
Hey.
So, we have a special guest. We have Lee back with us.
The original bad man.
Yeah, speak for yourself, guys. On the appearance thing, I'm kind of a cute character. I think people should see me.
Okay.
Maybe next time.
Just because your mom says you're cute doesn't mean it's true.
My mama says I'm special.
I didn't hear that last part, but
I don't know.
Good.
oh well. Anyway, we're going to talk about this article that we found on reviewtheroom.co.uk. So, from England, this
Damn English people.
this review company or review group, where they do quite a bit of reviews on escape rooms. They posted an article. Is there an actual date on this? January 2nd of 2022. We're reading it on the 7th. Well, talking about it on the 7th. And,
Because we're right up with current events.
right. Well, I just happened to find somebody shared this on Facebook, and I thought it was a good topic to talk about.
Yeah.
Since we don't always need to do reviews on this podcast, even though we
No.
are a review group. I figure we talk about this article that's labeled "Things Escape Rooms Need to Stop Doing in 2022."
Yeah.
Again, we have our guest Lee with us, who's a plug-and-play member of the DIU Escape Crew.
Yep.
And we sent him the article. So we're going to get three different opinions, maybe even all the same opinion, but three different looks at this article.
Yes.
So we'll start with, again, they on here they have no particular order, but they have, okay, so lack of narrative, meaning there was a time when escape rooms, I'll probably read a lot of this word for word, but, you know, it is what it is. There was a time, let's see here. Yeah, I only have a high school education, so bear with me here. Time was that an escape room was, here's a bunch of puzzles, solve them, and win. A lot of escape rooms are still like that.
Yes.
With some tenuous bookending to explain why you're in a prison. Laboratory, cheese shop. I like that.
Yeah.
That was funny because we've never done a cheese shop. We did a sweet shop.
Yes.
Not a cheese shop. Wonder if their underwear smells like provolone, like the Sopranos.
Maybe.
I don't know. Whatever.
Who cut the cheese?
Who cut the cheese?
Mm-hmm.
No one. They want to play games which tell a story, where the story drives the game forward. Let's see some characters, revelations, love interests, plot twists. Have more interactive movie experience. Stuff like that, which they say surely is a shoo-in for a crime scene game, murder mystery scenarios, and the like. You're in a room, you have 60 minutes to escape, just doesn't cut it anymore. Now, I don't know. I think some do. I think that does cut still, personally. I understand where he's coming from, where he wants to be more immersed, and he's looking more towards story-driven, everything story-driven.
I don't think that's needed.
What? Just
being story-driven.
not in all of them.
No. And a good example that pops right into my head immediately, and it's one that I reference all the time, is The Box.
Yeah.
Which was a room full of boxes that you have to open. And I think that if there's too much of a narrative, it could take away from the puzzle.
Okay.
Because you're thinking about the narrative too much.
Okay.
I don't mind having a theme. I think having a theme is cool, But personally, when I'm in there, I don't need to know, being reminded of every character in it all the way through. But
Okay.
that's just me.
How about you, Lee?
Well, the article is written by Alan Coo, and so these are all his musings that people are discussing. I think I can see both sides of this. The marketability of the narrative helps attract interest, and I'm wondering, on your guys' experience, like when you guys have like the room, like when you guys are thinking in terms of technically going to a room like The Box, where you have a bunch of different puzzles to solve, which in of itself kind of is a theme itself, might appeal to your technical nature, but maybe for a more casual fan who doesn't do this as a more or less as a hobbyist, that the narrative adds that extra allure to it, so to speak, that you can start thinking. You can actually, I think to Phil's point, you can actually overthink the themes.
Right. That's kind of the point I was trying to make.
Yeah, I can see that.
Yeah, I kind of don't need. I mean, I think a theme is needed 90% of the time. But as far as having an in-depth story that's constantly being brought up with characters that are constantly being brought up and thrown in your face, to me, if I want that, I'll go to the movies. I don't know.
Well, I think the challenge of doing a narrative style, one that focuses on a story, is you have 60 minutes pretty much with this narrative only. And the part of the challenge, I think, of appreciating anything of that nature is that you're trying to solve this game. That's sort of what they are. They're games.
Right.
And you don't want to fail. And if you get caught up too much in trying to be part of a story, as Mr. Koo mentioned in this article about, he's looking for, a much more of a plot twist. There's not a lot of time to really develop a story that depth.
Yeah, no, I agree.
Yeah, I can see that. But see, now we can go into that and say we did Five Wits.
Yes.
Everything was story driven.
Yes. Five Wits.
And it's still, I mean, granted, that is pretty much a separate entity in itself in a way, and as far as escape rooms go. But you look at just the fairy tale one alone, that you didn't have to remember everybody in it, but that story, each story for each of those rooms carried out throughout the whole game.
Right.
And it was completely and totally story driven.
Right.
Where, again, there was no padlocks, but it was all technology locks and, whatnot.
Yeah.
So
go
ahead.
Based on that experience you're talking there with that, while you guys were doing that particular room with the themes and the storyline, did you appreciate it while you were going through it, or it was more of in reminiscence and review afterwards that you go, hey, that was kind of a cool idea? Like you picked up on things much more afterwards in review.
I think the second. I think that when I was in those rooms, I was concentrating on the puzzles and the immersion of it too. But was once you really got out of the room and you look back on it, like you were saying, that's when that narrative, you start talking about the narrative more. But when I was in there, like I said, to me, I'm more focused on the puzzles, and if while you're working on the puzzles, the narrative keeps popping up, to me, it kind of breaks your train of thought a little bit.
Okay, I see what you're saying. So do you think you need less of a narrative in these new rooms coming in, or do you think you need more of a narrative? Because the way that this is looking, they need more narrative in these rooms now. Coming into 2022.
Personally, for me, I'm fine with just having a theme and not having a narrative that keeps popping up through it.
So a theme and a backstory.
Yeah.
And
you have the backstory that they give you on the video.
Yep. You
have the theme of it, which that's what we use to pick the rooms most of the time. Other than that, I'm fine. But maybe it's me, but having a narrative that keeps popping up and having a story that keeps popping up, well, you're at this part of the story now, to me, it breaks my concentration on what I'm doing.
Right.
You find it distracting.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Yeah, I think in order to really execute a narrative or a story of some nature, I think that the time frame is probably going to be too pressed to make it really all that meaningful, I think, to the experience.
Mm-hmm.
I think the story you tell going into it, to help frame your mind, I think if they maybe pick out a couple of particular, maybe, as opposed to trying to tell like it talks about interactive movie experience. If you, like Phil says, if you want a movie, go to a movie. This is not going to be it in an hour. It'll be too much of a Cliff Note experience, in my opinion.
Yeah, no, I
agree with you.
I think that if you took a room that was meant to be an hour-long experience with the puzzles and solving it, and then you add all this other narrative and storylines that keep popping up repeatedly, I think you need, twice the amount of time in the room, because you needed that first hour to do the puzzles. So now if you're going to be constantly interrupted, then now you got to stretch that time out.
Okay.
Well, let's look. To me, if it's this is kind of going to show our age here, but back in the old days with video games, for example, you'd go buy a video game, you plug it in and you hook it up and you start it up right away, and you can just jump right into the immersive experience of the video game, and you're done with that thing. And then over time, as you start doing stories and Ultimas and things of that nature, people probably hear how old we are at that point. That became a much more time-consuming experience to really get into the whole narratives and the interactivity of a story and developing a plot and stuff like that. And I think that would ruin what people go to the escape rooms for.
No, I agree. And I think if you're going to use that as an example, my example is I'd rather play Pac-Man than Zelda.
I was just going to say I'd rather play Pac-Man than Super Mario Brothers, because there's the story, too.
Zelda to me was that first game that had
really stopped you.
Yeah,
read everything.
Yeah, and I don't need that. I'm fine with just having a pie eating dots.
No, that makes sense. All right, so you're kind of disagreeing with this guy, and honestly, I kind of am too. Yes, as much as you like the backstory, unless the backstory really has something to do with the room, code-wise or answer-wise,
right?
Do you really need it?
Now, the flip side of that is if a place uses the same theme throughout all their rooms. Puzzle Theory.
Yes.
Right? Is they carry that same theme throughout all their rooms. The guy we did the 13th hour.
Okay.
13th gate.
Yep.
It's the same family members, same everything throughout all the rooms.
Right.
But it's not thrown in your face every 5 minutes of, okay, well, now this family member did this and this family member did that.
Very
but
true.
They continue with the same theme.
Yep.
If that makes any sense.
No, it does. It does. And like you said with that, too, you'll get notes that, okay, John Hayden did this or John Hayden did that. or the grandmother did this, aunt did this. So that's that reoccurring theme throughout that room, but it's not overshadowed. It doesn't overshadow the room itself.
Exactly.
Which seems like he wants this stuff to overshadow rooms now.
Fuck that guy.
I just don't know how you could do it in really a lot of these rooms are two spots, beginning and an end type thing of two halves of an experience. You can really do that successfully in a limited time frame with limited real estate.
Well, that's the trick. And we've seen a couple that have been done successfully, but it's a couple. It's not a whole lot of them.
Right.
Most of them is just pure theme. We've done one or two that don't even need a theme. But I would say out of all the ones that we've done, 250 some odd rooms, there's only been a handful that storyline enhanced the room.
Yes.
You know what I mean?
It was more like the room enhanced the storyline.
Yes.
In the rooms we have done.
Yeah.
A lot of the time.
Yeah.
So you would say that the those type of rooms that had the storyline, it was probably not overarching in terms of like storyline is so noticeable versus the theme of the room and the puzzles. But compared to all the ones you've done, they really stand out and say your top 10 escape room experiences as being, all right, this is the one you have to go do.
Not necessarily.
No.
Like I keep referring to the box, and the box has really no theme. There's no story to it at all. It's really, okay. And there's another one.
The story is that you're just in a dark room. The theme is that it's a Joker, not Batman Joker, even though there is a picture of the Batman Joker. It's just a Joker theme.
Or
Killer Jokers.
Swiss Original.
Swiss Original is another one.
Is another one that we just love, and it's just puzzles.
It's just puzzles and locks.
Yeah.
And
they don't screw around. Here you go. You have an hour. See you in an hour.
Yeah. You have an hour to get through this whole room.
Okay.
That's the difference. But like you said, even though with the box, you said that there's really no theme. There is a clown, clown theme.
You're right.
It's killer clown theme to it.
Right.
Whether I shouldn't be saying Joker because everybody's just going to think of Batman's Joker.
Yeah.
But it's a killer clown theme. They give away the Pennywise pop doll.
Right, but it's a clown theme, but it's not a story.
Right, there is no actual story.
There's no actual story.
Their story is that it just gets brighter as you go on.
Yeah.
So it sounds like I disagree that for this one here that it's not really imperative for people who create these escape rooms to make this into a serious modification priority for 2022 builds.
Right. You shouldn't need scripts in order to do escape rooms.
If you could pull it off, that's fine.
Right. I mean, granted, it all depends also too on if you have live actors in there, stuff like that. Then yes, then you get a little more theatric, but that's a part of the room itself.
Right.
I don't want to give the spoiler out, but we know which room we're talking about where there was a script in there. Actually, we'll use Masterpiece. There's a semi-script in that thing.
Yep.
At the beginning. It's semi-scripted because they're in character when they give you clues.
Yep.
Okay. Another one, I don't want to give it out because it's probably one of our favorite rooms ever, and I think you know which one I'm talking about. That is kind of scripted. It's down in Florida.
Yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
They should be opening a new room pretty soon.
Yes.
I don't want to give it away. But yes, there's one aspect it's scripted like a movie.
Yeah.
But it doesn't break your theme. It doesn't break anything. So in certain aspects, yes, there should be a little more narrative. In other aspects, no, just leave them alone.
Yeah.
So that's the way I'm looking at it.
All right, let's move on to the next topic here. It says death by padlocks. I know you guys have enjoyed many padlocks.
Goddamn padlocks.
Padlocks are fun, but all right. So death by padlocks. I'm almost loath to. This guy has got to learn how to type.
Oh, you got to learn how to read.
I'm almost loath to.
Maybe that's English.
It could be. Include this as I love padlocks. I don't. What's this guy's name again? Alan Coo.
Alan Coo, yep.
Alan Coo.
Like David Alan Coo.
Second game he's ever played was like an explosion in a padlock factory. which we've done a room like that.
Yes.
And he
Couple
was in
of
hog
rooms
heaven.
like that.
But a room full of locks has been done now. Yeah. And all too often, it's been done badly. I agree.
Yes.
Get a key, open a lock. To find a key to open that next lock. To get a key to open that next lock. And so on and so forth.
We've done that.
Yes. Getting a 4-digit code and scrambling your team to start dialing it into several otherwise unremarkable padlocks was fun 5 years ago. Again, I agree with him here. And it depends on the padlock, though. To me, a padlock is a key and a lock, not a combination. I guess it's a combination padlock, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because the old ones from the old school lockers are padlocks, and that's a dial.
Yeah. And then a directional lock would be considered a padlock, too. As long as the locks are new, not shiny as hell, and you're able to see the numbers, whether you have a light shining on it or dim light or something, you could see those numbers and or letters, I'm okay with padlocks.
I'm okay with them, but I agree with everything you just said.
Yep.
I'd rather see a directional lock than any other kind of lock, because that's me personally.
I agree with that, too.
But the big thing with me is I like locks that fit the narrative, that fit the theme.
Okay, there it is. Yes.
If it's a old decrepit mausoleum or a pirate ship or whatever, and you have a brand new shiny lock on it that it just doesn't fit it. But if you get one that's weathered
and it's like a skeleton key,
skeleton key kind of thing, I would rather open up those all day because it fits the story. It fits the immersion of it.
Yes,
I should say, because the other ones, once you break that immersion, then you start losing interest a little bit.
I agree 100%.
Now we did one, the three of us up at what was that last place we went to?
React.
Yes, and there was one or two locks there that were just so shiny and new that
you didn't think it fit.
Yeah, you can't. It doesn't fit that old aesthetic of what the room's supposed to be.
A haunted Sherlock room.
Yeah, and they're so shiny and new that you're right. You can't read them. But
that's what I said when we were talking to your son last time. I had mentioned that he likes some of the old school locks. He likes the technology, but when I said, when you're using those number locks and letter locks, in all reality, me personally, I'd rather see those master locks that you turn the dials with the little nubs on them. They have a couple nubs here and there, because those things are easy to read.
Yep.
Granted, I'm older. I probably need glasses. But
yes, you definitely need glasses.
For very small writing, I do. But come on.
I'm okay with padlocks, but I personally like variety, and I could see as people go through, say, the first room of a game, that they have different padlocks to build their confidence. You solve the first puzzle with maybe a key lock or something like that. Cool. Move on. Next one, maybe a combo lock. Open that one. Then you start getting the more sophisticated locks as they progress through the game. I definitely don't want to see the same kind of lock over and over and over again. I kind of get, in my opinion, I get kind of bored with the familiarity with it.
Well, my whole thing, and again, getting back to that, just like here, you get a 4-digit code, and now you're scrambling because you see the same exact lock all over the place. So now that 4-digit code can go into all 4 of those locks, or all 10 of those locks that happen to be in the room that are identical.
Right.
Change them up.
I do kind of like Lee's idea about as you progress through the room, the locks get harder.
Yeah.
I do kind of like that idea.
I can see that.
But I just, and the other thing about locks is, and we've seen this, and the one that sticks out in my head is the Houdini room that we did down in
Florida?
North Carolina, South Carolina.
Oh, timed out. Yes.
Where there was a bar holding a cabinet closed that had
5 or 6 locks on it.
Oh,
Yes.
more than that. I thought it had like
It was this-
13 locks.
No,
on
it wasn't that. 13 was North Carolina Indian Trail.
yeah.
That was the whole.
Yeah.
That was the end of that thing, though. That was made purposely to do it that way.
Yeah, but I mean, we did the other one, that Houdini one, and just, there's so many locks on it that, and you had to find every key. It was tough to do. Where in reality, they could have put 1 lock on it, 2 locks on it, and you're done.
Yeah, do a top and a bottom, pull the thing out, and you're done.
Yeah, I think after 2 locks, unless there's a specially designed for more, I think once you get past 2 locks, it's just a time waster.
It is, but on the flip side of that, now we look at the 13 locks, which was in missing at Indian Trail, Masterpiece, Indian Trail. That was part of the theme of the room, was there was 13 deaths, 13 souls to unlock, 13 locks.
Okay.
That was the point of that.
Now that brings you back to your first topic. How important is that theme?
Right. True.
Because
True.
in my mind, I don't need that 13 locks, even though it's 13 deaths or whatever. But in my mind, that's a big time waster right there.
Now it is.
But
3 years ago, it wasn't. It was cool as hell.
yeah,
So, but speaking of that, I think Masterpiece won a bullshit award this year. Anyway, moving on to this part though, because this is in here. Like, if the game lack of signposting, this is where they're saying, like, instead of scrambling everybody, once you get a 4-digit code and putting it into a lock, it should tell you what lock it goes to.
yeah, I kind of like when there's a black key and then there's a black lock.
Yeah.
I think stuff like that makes sense.
That's also where I was getting to too. That you get 4 digits, 4 letters, whatever it is. Don't buy the same exact lock though either.
Yeah.
We ran into that where it's the same exact lock, gold, with a blue line right down the middle. Next one to it, gold with a blue line right down the middle. Well, what the hell? Like, you can't make it a different lock, different color lock, stuff like that.
And if you jam that key going into the lock, then you're going to say, oh, well, it doesn't fit this lock. You go into the next one, and you just disregard the first one, even though that's the one it was supposed to be in.
Yes.
And it's just your stupid fat sausage fingers that I have that don't make it work right.
Yeah. No, see, that's... You shouldn't have to scatter and guess what lock it goes to once you find that code.
Right. I mean, I guess if you're... Again, we do rooms 2 or 3 people. I guess you're bringing a half a dozen people in the room. Maybe it gives everyone something to do. We've all done rooms with, the 3 of us together where we were in there with, half a dozen people, if not more, and everyone needs something to do. You got to do something.
Well, that's the other thing that we hate. Now that it's pandemic time and all that kind of worked out for us is that public rooms.
Yeah.
Which I don't think he actually talks about that at all in here.
No, he doesn't.
I don't think that's even a thing anymore.
But, but like I said, lack of signposting for it. Look at the one room we did where we had to unlock. There was 2 locks for 1 box. And that was kind of overdoing it.
Yeah.
They talk about that in here too, and I forget where it is. I'm sure we'll find it.
Or those Chinese doll kind of boxes where everyone
Russian
going
dolls.
down has a lock on it. Russian dolls,
Yeah.
whatever you call them.
It feels very worldly.
Say that again?
Feels very worldly.
Oh,
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah.
I am.
Yeah. You should see all the racist face expressions he's doing right now. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding. He's not racist. He hates everybody.
I hate everyone just the same.
Yes. But yeah. Here they had the lack of signposting. If the game lends itself to, e.g., multiple similar combo locks, which is what we were just talking about. They give us some signposting to correlate. Say I only have a high school education. The solution back to the relevant lock.
Yeah, the grammar of the writing there isn't accurate, but
It's
we can understand
really
what he's
bad.
saying.
Like bemoan? What the hell is that? We
You
bemoan a player who spins for the final digit of a combination. Yet, by design, expect them to discover which lock a new code is acceptable via trial and error. This is dichotomy?
Dichotomy.
Dichotomy. I have no idea what
Who you
dichotomy
calling a
means.
dick to me?
It could be a dick to me. I don't know. Trying not to swear on our show, but they're not letting us.
Well, that happened to Philip when we were down in Florida,
Okay.
and we played that room at that place we'll never go back to,
Oh, yes.
where he guessed at.
Yes, you're right.
We had no idea, and he was just guessing numbers, and they frowned upon it to the point that they took time away.
Yes.
And we're
That's
like,
right.
it's a guessing game. It's an hour of guessing. How could you and I don't know. I don't agree with that. I think that
I think guessing is a part of the game.
Yeah.
To be honest with you. You're in an escape room. You're paying for the hour as it is. You should be able to... I mean, granted, we shouldn't have to be able to guess the final code within 5 minutes and get out, which has
Right.
happened to us by accident. But there is an element of guessing in these games.
But this is what Woo's actually saying here. Koo is talking about was related to what your point was earlier. Is when you talk about having, say, 2 or 3 locks that physically have the same appearance,
Yeah.
and same design, colors. You want to be able to have your clue and know which lock you should go to versus having to go A, B, C and just try on all of them, because then, one, it's coming across as a desperation experience trying to solve a lock versus trying to get through the lock.
Right.
Yeah.
And then, pretty much you find yourself more or less scampering around versus really enjoying that particular solve.
Yeah, it's almost like time wasting.
Yeah.
Right. It's like you figure out a found digit of a code, and then everything else is trial and error because the code doesn't necessarily align with anything directly that you understand which one you should be applying it towards.
Right. No, yeah, right. You're 100% right there. Another one here is lack of feedback for solves.
This always bothers me. It really does. And basically what it's saying is you solved the puzzle and you pressed the big flashing red button.
Yep.
And you think nothing happened because the door that opened didn't have a noise to it.
You didn't even hear it open or pop open or
or
whatever.
something dropped from the ceiling and you didn't
Notice it.
notice it. And there's been times that the game master says, well, if you turn around, what was open that wasn't open before? And then you just feel like an asshole because, oh, yeah, I'm just an idiot that didn't see, the big banner fall from the sky, or I didn't see the door open.
Well, we've done that a couple of times.
Yeah.
Easily a couple of times. There's been times that you actually had to keep holding the button down so that somebody could get over to the thing and open it. 'Cause
Yeah.
every time you would let go, it would relock again.
Right. And
I
I don't know. It just, it's one of those things that you can't be that aware of your environment, of an environment that you just stepped into.
Mhm.
There has to be some kind of bell or chime or noise or something. All they got to do is put a spring in there so that when it opens, it has enough force to just knock against something.
Right, or stay open.
Yeah.
Stay open. We
I
ran
think it
into that.
depends upon.
Sorry.
I think it depends upon the room. I think it depends upon the room and the experience. I don't want to jump ahead too much, but
Go ahead.
like for example, if you're in a room, and especially with some of these rooms, and there's like the 3 of us or 4 people in a room, and the room's not super big, and you do perform an action, and you can hear or see something as a reaction, some movement or whatever. I think it depends a lot on the lighting of the room, how busy the room actually is, where if you can't notice something, that'd be, I think, a part of the game design itself.
Yeah,
I
no.
don't just need
Yeah, I
a
agree
bell.
with that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, if you press the button and you hear a chime go off or something, but, you know, it's tucked around the backside of a corner in a dark thing that you would never know was there anyways, then, you know, what good is it?
Right.
I mean, you guys have done 250 plus of these things. I think you guys are pretty well aware of when you've solved a particular puzzle and can move on to the next thing.
Believe it or not,
No.
no, you're not.
Really?
No, because like we just mentioned before, we did something in New Hampshire, and this is where I was saying that we had to keep a button pressed down in order for something to stay open.
Yep.
Now here we had to press something down. We heard a click,
Mhm.
but didn't realize it was in the other room.
Yep.
This is a multi-room game. So he was in one room, Phil's in one room. When he hit that button, we heard the click. I had to walk back to the other room and figure out what was open. Then he got up. I couldn't see what was open. And then we're like, oh, is this supposed to open? And then went back, pushed the button again. And while I was standing there, was able to open it. So it locked every time you let go of the button instead
Yeah.
of it popping up and
That's-
staying open.
Yeah, that'd be game design, and
It is game
also
design, but that's what
you
we're
get-
saying for lack of solves. You know, there should be something there that says, okay, should be a noise of some sort, a buzzer sound, anything to let you know that you opened something.
Yeah.
But that door should stay open when you hit the right combination or hit the right button or do what you have to do.
Yeah.
It shouldn't automatically lock once you get up or let go. Actually, we ran into that in Escape the Pike, Merlin's vision.
Yes.
That if something wasn't perfectly on the table,
Yes.
that door, you heard it unlock, but you barely heard it. Unless you were standing right by that door where I was sitting,
Yep.
but you went to go open it because the book shifted, it locked again.
Yes.
Now, that should have popped open and a spring should have held it open.
Yes.
Okay? And that's what I'm saying. Like, there should be some kind of noise. That's what he's trying to say. Some kind of noise for anything that
obvious.
you've done. Huh?
So basically, what you guys are saying, you want things to be a little bit more obvious when you correctly solve something.
Yes.
It should be a little more obvious. It should be a lot more obvious when you solve something.
Now, what about here where he talks about if you did something wrong, he's looking to find, let's say there's a 4-part puzzle you guys are working on.
Yep.
And, you don't know which part you're getting wrong out of this particular 4 components. He's asking for some sort of audible or some sort of noticeable thing to detect which part you're getting wrong, like a buzzer or, this is 3 out of 4 is wrong.
That's
Something
on
like
the
that.
game master. And that's where the game master should be paying attention to your game.
I think that's the
Go ahead.
I think that's the big, again, so I don't want to jump ahead to one of the other topics that he brings
No,
with
okay.
the
No,
game
all right.
master.
We don't have to actually go in any specific order here because he's in no specific order.
Yeah.
So, but
True.
I understand. You tell us what you think. What you were.
I
gonna
think
say.
the games master component, I think is probably among the most imperative pieces of the game.
Mm-hmm.
They can get a feel for as you spend probably in the first 20 minutes of them watching the players. Like, you guys are very experienced players. You brought in a bunch of people who are brand new at this. To basically, what they're really looking to do is provide an entertaining experience. Everyone goes in there maybe with some different expectations. You guys go in there looking for technicalities and to solve things and compare against other escape rooms. Other people might be going in just for a good experience of something different than going to see a movie or going bowling.
Right.
So I think the games master can sit there and watch what's going on and figure out, because you guys and I have about done ones before. We're like, we don't want to have to ask for help, but at some point we go, screw it, we're not getting beyond where we're stuck at, and you call out and then they provide it.
Mm-hmm.
I think that the attention of whoever's directing the game can help provide some of these things without necessarily going that crazy with chimes or buzzers or anything like that.
Well, no, I think you're right, and I think getting back to the original thing of, there's 4 parts to this puzzle. I think it is the game master's responsibility to say you got 3 things right. One of them is in the right place. Mm-hmm. We've heard of that before. Which in the game itself, as you're playing it, that gets kind of annoying because then you start flopping things around. But it's really the most useful and honest way that they can answer it without giving you the right answer.
Right.
But it's if that game master isn't on the game, then when you have these 3 and 4 part answers, it could really screw you.
It can.
We've done ones where it's a 3 or 4 part answer and it takes up half the game. Mm-hmm. And if that game master is just sitting there laughing at you or picking his nose or talking to someone else or whatever, it could really kill you.
Right. No, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I think that's about it for that one. Well, we got what? What's next on the list here? Oh, they also... Go ahead, sorry.
Do not touch stickers, the next topic.
Well, I was going to say, they have here also similarity to a blacklight.
Oh, yeah.
They should have real blacklights in there.
Yeah, blacklight. I mean, I could talk about blacklights all day.
And they think don't make the whole scope of the entire room with it. I don't have a problem with that as long as you can make the whole
dark.
Game dark.
Yeah, I actually like checking out the whole room, and if you've played with us, then you know that the first thing Dominic does is go, "Okay, here's the black light," and hands it off to me, and I go circling all the walls.
Right. And you could actually see better other things with the black light anyway, but that's besides the point.
But I mean, what bothers me is you could buy a good, honest black light, not just a colored lens, but a good, honest black light that has a nice scope on it, a nice big lens on it, I should say. And it's not going to cost you a whole lot more than those little ones.
Right. That's
durable. The batteries don't eat up on it. It always works. And again, the lights have to get off in the room.
Yeah.
It got to be a dark room.
Like we did, we'll use an example. We did the room at the asylum at 101.
Yep.
Where that room was probably one of the brightest rooms we've ever done.
Yes.
Light-wise. Because you could see outside.
Yep.
And the poorest use of a black light.
Yes.
Because you couldn't see the black light writing, ink.
Yep.
You really couldn't. You had to stand there with glasses on and a magnifying glass just so you can try to see it.
Yeah.
With the light shining on it.
And it also brings you to another point. A lot of these places with this pandemic have to really adapt to the cleaning and the maintenance. And most of the places that we've played have done a bang-up job keeping everything clean. Now, when you're wiping stuff down every hour with a spray cleaner, it wipes things off that are on the wall. And it wipes off these marks. And part of the job of the game master while they're resetting the room should be, hey, let's just make sure this mark is still on the wall.
Yep.
Or put it on the backside of the plexiglass or glass or whatever.
Right.
So that the cleaner isn't even getting to it.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good point.
Yeah, we've done ones where
because most of the time, let's be honest here. Most of the time, the way that they're cleaning is they're just sending a fog through.
Yep.
And it's not really wiping it down. It's just sending the fog through. Some parts, I guess, you're wiping down if it gets a little hazy, and they wipe off the ink.
Yeah.
So if you wrote it on the back side, you wouldn't have to worry about.
Yeah, we did one where it was a whole map of the world or the United States or whatever.
Right.
And it was covered with plexiglass, and we're shining this black light on it, and we don't see anything.
Right.
And the girl's like, "No, it's there. It's there. It's there every game." But they were supposed to have written it on the back side where it doesn't get washed off. Yes. They wrote it on the front side, and she didn't realize that it had gotten wiped off. And it just, it's a time killer.
Well,
God.
the blacklight experience, I think, it's a good technique in it to essentially take what maybe it's just really two rooms and create a third.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of aesthetically, I kind of put it into the same experience as like going to Las Vegas, New York roller coaster. You ride it during the day, it's one experience. You're riding the same exact thing at night, it's a different one. So but you're absolutely right. The blacklight, if they're going to put the effort into introducing that element, it has to be done comprehensively and very thoroughly.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
No, I agree 100%.
The only other issue that I have with black lights, and it might just be a nitpicky thing, is, and I love black lights, but if they're used for multiple puzzles, they shouldn't be in the same room. You know what I mean?
The puzzles shouldn't be in the same room.
You know, because you go over. I mean, I take the black light. I hit every corner of every wall.
Yep.
And you find all these things, and now you go and you look on the desk, and now you're finding something on the desk that goes to a different puzzle.
Right.
Well, as a player who's only been in this room for 10 minutes, you don't know if everything that you're seeing goes to the same puzzle, or if it goes to multiple puzzles or whatever. And, you know, if they were separated in separate rooms, then you'd say, well, that's different. And I think part of that goes to the game master too, that when they see you going down that rabbit hole of different things, could say, well, no, okay, just concentrate on these for now. You'll use those later. But when they're on the wall and they're on the desk and they're in the notebook and it's all in the same room, it gets kind of convoluted.
Right. No, and I agree with you with that.
I think we've all been through the experience where in some rooms where we find the black light probably earlier than the games master really expects us to.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And now we're all of a sudden, so now we're distracted, of course, by the black light. We're looking around, like Phil says, looking at every nook and cranny. More or less, that's taking us away from where the game is supposed to take us towards. And then we might find a clue inadvertently that's meant to be seen later, and now we're completely all just garbled up in terms of where our attention should be.
Right. Yeah.
So I think you're right.
No, I agree with you.
It would be the blacklight stuff, and let phase one be get used to the game, get immersed in the experience, and then phase two of the game has that component in there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
All right, now moving on. What do we got? Do not touch stickers. I really don't like these.
Oh, wow, yeah. I agree with you totally there.
I understand them, but after reading this article, I agree with this guy.
Yep.
Nothing smashes immersion faster than, quote, this is not a part of the game, quote, stickers. If it's not a part of the game, why can I see it? I agree with that. Why can I interact with it? Chase cables into walls, or if you're on a budget, box it off. Plywood and paint ain't expensive. Well, maybe not paint. Maybe plywood's not expensive in the UK, but here in the US, plywood actually got very expensive.
all wood is going up.
But aside from that, I agree. There should be some way of it being blocked off. We did one room that I'll use the prime example for was the Torrington room, the art room.
Oh, yeah.
With the final puzzle that the owner couldn't even do it. But everything that was marked that you couldn't touch or wasn't a part of the game was marked in lime green tape.
Yep.
Fluorescent green tape, whatever. Do not touch. Okay, that's fine. There was a door.
Yep.
I wasted a lot of time on that door.
I wasted a lot of time.
You wasted. Fred wasted. I think Gary was the only one that didn't even walk over to it.
Yep.
No, Phil was wasted.
Actually, after this game, we all were
We
wasted.
all went.
But come to find out, that room only went to the electrical room where the breakers were for the whole building. Well, why wasn't... First of all, things you're not supposed that aren't in play are supposed to be marked green. So that should have been marked green.
Yes.
On the flip side of that, there was an easel in the room that was marked green.
Yes.
Do not use. That you had to use. What he said, and he had to be real specific about it, is that don't touch the locking nut on the back. Well, mother lover, just tell us that. Don't mark it green, because we would have never thought to use the easel in the final code.
Right.
That he still couldn't get right.
And there's ways around it. He could have just gotten black tape and wrapped the hell out of that nut so it can't move. And with the door, that's on the game master. If your game master is paying attention and everyone in the room is wasting 10 minutes on this door, then, a little ding could come up on the screen and say, hey, that's not part of the game.
Right. But being in this room, it should be... There was nothing stopping him from putting a curtain over it and stapling it to the wall so you can't get to it.
Yep.
So now, monkey, can't see, can't use it.
Yep.
Like right here. Shouldn't be able to see it.
Now, most of the time, the stickers don't bother me a whole lot because a lot of the times they're small, and after reading this article, they're starting to bother me a little bit more.
Yep.
Because he's right, there are ways around it. My question to you would be, instead of having a sticker that's the size of a quarter, that okay, I can't touch it because of that. What if they put something over that fit the theme of the room, and they said, okay, when you see this particular marking, it's not part of gameplay. Would that be better?
I think it would be.
If it was a dungeon theme,
Because I don't think you would even pay attention
or
to it.
Or a pirate theme, and instead of having a red dot on it, they found a little skull that he put on it.
Skull or crossbones or something.
Yeah.
Right.
Would that be better in your mind?
I think it would, because it would fit the theme somehow. And I understand you want to put do not touch or something on electrical outlets. I'll go with that all day long.
Yep.
But they also make those plastic safety covers that you just plug in. And they say, anyway, don't touch electrical outlets when you're in the rooms.
Right.
But, no, if that sticker fits the room, then I would say it's fine. Especially if you're not going to really notice it.
Yep.
In all the rooms we've done, there haven't been that many that stuck out. But the ones that have been really did stick out.
Yeah.
There's some places that told us anything with a red lock is out of play.
Yep.
And I think that had to do with the place in Florida that we did across the street from Twin Peaks. It was the second year we went down.
It's the escape game, the America's game.
Yeah, America's. They said anything with a red lock
Yep.
is not in play. We still tried to keep it in play because there's locks there.
Right.
There should be different ways to change that up and say, hey, don't play with this.
Yep.
We ran into it with... Go ahead.
It's details really when in the design and the aesthetics of the game. Part of the thing that people are doing when they put these things together is they want to provide a good immersive experience and things of that nature, and perhaps based on the facility they're renting or what they built, there's certain things they can't get away from based on the real estate that they're playing with. But I think the introduction piece, that when you walk in to learn about the story, so to speak, or the theme, and they set the ground rules up that they do at every place that I've been with you guys so far. It's pretty clear. Like one of the first ones we went to, they said if a thing doesn't move, it's there's nothing. It's not part of the game. If it's bolted to the ground, it's not going to be there. I definitely am in agreement with you guys that if you're in a room where there are games that involve locks, and they say, oh, the red locks are nothing you're supposed to play with, don't have them there. Do something else as your identifier.
Yes, no, and I agree with that. That's kind of where I was getting at. If it has padlocks in the room, you shouldn't use padlocks in order to say, no, don't touch this.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping you from buying a bag of zip ties and
Yeah.
zip tying it shut. Nip it off when you got to reset it, and zip a tie back in.
Yeah,
Zip
costing
ties,
you pennies.
Exactly. Little things
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah,
would
for
go
the
a long way.
people for the people who put these rooms together, walk through the thing, have some neutral party go through the thing initially, and whatever stands out as distracting from the game because it's not supposed to be part of it, they should do something about that piece, whether it's painting it, zip tying it, putting some sort of masking over it, but something that doesn't detract from what they're trying to build, and it comes down to the details every time.
I agree.
And hopefully that's what beta does when they beta test it.
I don't think they go through though enough to look at.
But I think
they just deal with, okay, well, these locks are here only to reset the game, so ignore them.
I think
And
what
I think
happens.
that's what they would do, is they would ignore them.
I think what happens though is, I think once you run the room X amount of times, and the owner stops running the room, and you get a high school kid who's making $12 an hour, $8 an hour, running that room, the more intricate you make these hiding systems, the less prone they are to use them.
Yes.
We've seen rooms that have been put together great and ones that have been reset terrible.
Mm-hmm.
And I think, the more these things are out of sight, out of mind, I think they get reset less. But
Reset the right way less, maybe.
Yeah.
But
that's just.
But that's on the owner or the manager or whoever's training the new people to come in. This is what we hired you to do. This is the way you have to do it. And I don't
Right.
care. I don't care that it's a minimum wage job, whatever it is. Your job is your job. That's on them to train them to do it the way they want it done.
No, I agree with you 100%.
So,
I just think
I see
that,
where you're coming from, but
I just think that, a lot of times these kids,
aren't going to give a crap.
once their manager leaves,
They don't care.
yeah, they
And
just
we've
don't
and we've
care.
seen that quite a
They
few
have
times.
15 minutes, 10 minutes to reset a room. They're doing it as quick as they can.
Yeah.
And how many rooms have we done where within the first 5 minutes, a game master has run in the room and said, "Oh, this was supposed to have been locked.
Yes.
This was supposed to have been closed." And
Yeah.
they just, people make mistakes, people forget. But, when your job is that, I don't want to say mundane, but when it's that repetitive is probably a better word. You just don't give. Like,
Or
Well,
rat's
if you
ass,
did-
I mean.
yeah.
Would you guys agree that the people who put these games together to offer the escape room experience are fans of the experience?
No, I don't think. I think it's about like 50-50. I think that there's a lot of the games are made because I'm a fan and this is what I want to see. But I think a lot of them are made for. Actually, I shouldn't say that. I think it's a third, and a third. I think I'm a fan. I want to make a good room. I think there's also the people that make it that I'm smarter than you and I'm going to prove it. And then I think the last third is, you know what? I want to get people moving in and out of this room as quickly as possible. And I just want to make as much money as physically possible. And if it's a poor game, so what? It's a one and done whether you liked it or not. So how great does it really have to be? Especially if you're in a high tourist area. I mean,
My
those
point of asking
those three things might not be equally third, but I think that those are the three motivations.
because my point for asking that question, and Phil, you're a former business owner. I'm a business owner presently. The ownership is always going to care more than Dom is. I actually don't know what Dom does.
Dom does it all.
Dom doesn't want people to know what he does.
I make Mafia black.
All I know is he involves a lot of black lights. But business owners care more about their business experience and their clientele than the people that generally work for them. Would you agree with that?
Yes. For the most part, yes.
If you're an owner-operator, yes.
But I think it also depends on what kind of business you're in.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm thinking in this experience, and that's why I asked the question, because I generally didn't have an answer in mind when I asked it. For the people who create these escape rooms, if they really are fans of the art and trying to do, provide that experience piece, they're going to care more. They might care more about that detail of the experience that we talked about initially. If you're talking about someone that's trying to make it into a financial gain system, where they just where they make money on it, that's their focus, then they're not going to be paying attention to the art of the room.
Well, I think part of it is, like I said, the owner-operator, I wanted to specify that, as I think they care more, the mom and pop ones, as opposed to ones that are corporate-owned.
Like Five Wits.
Right.
Five Wits is a perfect example of this.
Yeah.
Where you have a half hour to do this room, and they're going to push you through that room and get you out within a half an hour no matter what.
Right.
Whether you solved the puzzle or you didn't, somehow you're going through that room, and you're going to finish that room within a half an hour.
Right. And I
Would
think
you say,
I think that the corporate rooms are, they're meant to be like that, but I think you also, the other side of it is not the business owner themselves that's running it, is where that room came from. If that mom and pop built the room themselves, that's different than if it was built from a company out in Russia or somewhere and brought in as a turnkey room, that they're buying a product and putting it there to flip it over. And I think there's less love involved with that than there is something where the owner-operator, sat there and got his sweat equity in it, building it himself.
Right. No, I agree with that.
So you guys your commentary brings up some questions in my head that at a future podcast maybe we'll go in more depth. But would you say, based on this particular topic, with respect to the details and the pieces of the room that thou shalt not touch, is this more of a situation you've seen with the corporate rooms, or more with the non-corporate rooms?
Non.
I agree, because I think that the non-corporate rooms, a lot of times when they're built, they just either don't know how to hide certain things,
Right.
or listen, we're doing it the best we can.
Right.
Right. One of those two scenarios. And not for nothing too, when we go into a room, we could tell most of the time. It's getting harder to tell, but we could tell a lot of times what's hand built and what's a turnkey room.
Yeah, it was a turnkey room.
And you are a little bit more forgiving for the build out on a self-built room. I think. And the ones that are definitely, a turnkey bought room, that I think when you look at it, you really expect more with the immersion and the design and the durability and all that stuff.
I agree.
At least I do.
I agree. But now we're kind of getting a little off topic, but by getting into that a little bit. Let's pull back and get to this expecting push accessibility rather than pull. At first, when I read this, just the title of it, I was like, "What the heck is he talking about?"
Well, they mean the door, right? Do your door push open or pull?
No, they're talking about tunnels, or is there a lot of kneeling? Is there? Right here it says the guy who wrote it previously suggested that players speak up ahead of the game. If they have specific accessibility requirements, such as bad knees,
yep,
or asthma. No, I have emphysema, but and he stands by this. But he's realized suddenly this is ass backwards, arse Arse backwards.
Arse.
Arse. The venue should be pulling this information from the team as a part of a safety briefing. And not expecting players to push it to them. So that's where it was the push or the pull. More than once, they've suggested in an area such as lighting or crawl spaces and have been told afterwards, oh, you should have said there was a bypass.
As someone that is always fearful of the Winnie the Pooh effect of getting caught in the honey tree with a bad back and bad knees and wide girth going through small spaces, I think I found most of the rooms that we've done that have had tunnels, bypasses, whatever, that they pretty straightforward come out. I don't think we've had any that were a surprise.
One.
That was really that small.
Nothing small. Nothing small, but a surprise there wasn't a bypass. Which was Escape Long Island, Escape the Room Long Island. It was the pyramid room.
Okay.
The very first time we ever did a tunnel, though, was Stolen Relic in Orange, Connecticut.
Yes.
And as soon as that door popped and there was a tunnel, they came over the thing and says, listen, if you don't want to crawl, just come out the door and go into the other door.
Yeah.
So there they told us that there is a bypass.
But they let us find
the door first.
The door first.
Right.
So it's unexpected.
And then when I went in and I was like, oh, this is cool, you're like, yep, I just got to do it. And then after that, you stayed in one room. But aside from that, they told us, yes, you can bypass it by doing, this or that. Now, when we went and did the Escape Long Island area, Escape the Room Long Island or whatever, that's the one that owns the 3 places now, padlocked and whatnot. You asked if there was a bypass because that was a long tunnel. That was an S-turn tunnel. Very long, time-consuming, 2 people, and the guy just didn't know what to say to you.
Right.
So that's weird.
Yeah.
But there should always be, I don't care what it is, there should always be a bypass, and we shouldn't have to explain that we have bad knees. We're going to play the game either way. Now, granted, you see somebody come in with a wheelchair.
Yep.
That's a different story.
Yeah.
But, not for nothing, how many people in a wheelchair are going to be able to do escape rooms anyway?
I've met quite a few people.
I mean, we did hear of a group of 4 blind people do one in Escape.
Yeah.
But you understand where I'm coming from.
No, I do. I mean,
that it's in such a tight spot, do you really think somebody in a wheelchair is going to come and do these rooms?
Right. And,
and if that's the case, they would definitely need a bypass.
Right. I mean, I've always looked at it as I've gone through every tunnel we found. Mm-hmm. And some of them were a lot tighter than others, and you get that Winnie the Pooh thought in your head of being stuck in the honey tree.
Oh, yeah.
Or if it's really long, or, textured bottoms are tough on the knees. But I think if you physically could do it and make it through, that's fine. I think that, like you said, maybe not give you the option in the pregame, but when as soon as that door pops,
right.
Say, okay, listen, I'm going to stop the time for a second. We have a different way around. If you want to go around, that's fine. If not, it's up to you.
Right.
Yeah.
Personally, I think there should be for any kind of tunnel, there should be a bypass.
Right.
And tunnel meaning crawling on your hands and knees, not actually going through a doorway back and forth.
Plus, I mean, not for nothing, I think it's a safety issue too.
Right.
To some point.
Yeah. So, anyway, got anything to add there, Lee?
No, because actually, I've never done an escape room that had those kind of.
That's right. You haven't done one with a tunnel.
Not one with a tunnel. For me, I'm not personally claustrophobic or anything, but I can see people, on certain roller coaster rides that before it actually gets to a certain point, they have a chance to get off. It's like the Disney haunted house; they can leave before the thing is really crazy.
I'm thinking Escape the Pike. Bring him up there.
We're gonna have to. We're gonna have him do the room with like Becca and Dakota or something.
Yeah, where we could sit there and watch it. And let them
That's
go
the only
through.
game we haven't watched yet.
And that's a good tunnel.
That's a good tunnel.
Lee, we'll take care of that.
Yeah, we'll take care of that.
We'll
Quick.
pop your tunnel carry. Actually, that didn't sound good.
Moving on to the next topic.
And to drink, meatballs.
Lack of
Anyway. All right, so next topic here is lack of player aids. Now, I've been itching. I've been waiting for this one.
I'll bet
Wow,
you
you've
have.
been waiting for AIDS?
Yes. Itching for aids. I've been itching to talk about this one. I've been waiting for this topic to come up because we talk about this
Constantly.
probably on every single podcast that we don't have a player aid in it.
Yeah.
Now,
Explain to them what a player aid is.
player aid is a pen, a pencil, a piece of paper, a notepad, a white-off board,
Static board.
static boards,
Chalkboards.
a chalkboard, yes. Anything that you can write down numbers, letters, clues, answers to. I mean, granted, I have a pretty good photogenic memory. I have a pretty goddamn good memory. But
You do.
I'm not going to remember every single thing.
Yeah.
You're not going to remember every single. Nobody will.
Well, on the flip side, your memory is a lot better than mine. For my problem solving process in my head, I need to physically look at the equation.
I agree
Or
with
look at the series of letters, or
You got to write it down and do it
yeah,
manually.
I have to look at it and visually process it.
Right. A lot of people are like that. A lot. But then again, there goes these meta puzzles too, or these multi answer puzzles that we get back to from the beginning, or one of the beginning here. What is it? Probably not lack of solves. Yeah, the lack of solves, where it takes 4 answers to get your final code to do one lock.
Yep.
Now we solve all that. Say the word is love that we needed out of 4 puzzles.
All we need
How are
is
you
love.
going to remember LOVE throughout the whole game without writing it down and keeping it? Because the first thing they tell you is try to be organized.
Yeah.
Right.
Here it is. We had a whiteboard board, or we had a chalkboard, or we had something. You write it down.
Yep.
Now it's organized. Now it's there. We're done with it. Erase it. We're
Yep.
done with that. We don't need to worry about that anymore. Oh, why is that LO still up there? Because we haven't used it yet.
Yes.
Okay? And how many times we've had to go back and redo a puzzle just to get the answers we needed for the end.
Yep.
Now that's doing everything twice. And you shouldn't have to do anything twice. There should be some kind of player aid in here. And he even says here, please, for the love of Pete, give us something to write with. Violence won't scribble on the walls or eat the crayons.
I bet people do.
Yeah, some people probably do. If you're in a small
Like-
town surrounded by savages, LCD writing tables. Boogie boards.
That's that static board.
Okay, yeah. Pen and a stylist. Give us a freaking what the hell is that?
All
with
it-
the 2 knobs.
All he needs is a whiteboard. Like an Etch-a-Sketch.
Etch a sketch. Give me an etch a sketch. Something. That we could write down. Pen and paper. You just take the paper and you throw it away when you're done.
Yep.
Don't give us a notepad. Give us 2-3 sheets of paper, and then you just refill it. 2-3 sheets of paper.
Yeah.
There's no pressing, so there's no indentations after you're done writing on it.
Yep.
With a notepad, I can understand not leaving a notepad because yes, there would be indentations of writing stuff down.
Dry
And people
erase
could
boards,
just-
you get ghosting on it.
Yeah, but you could wash those.
They can clean.
Chalkboards claim they get ghosting. Well, wash them.
Yeah.
Wipe them down with a wet rag.
Again, it goes back to that kid that got,
Yeah.
he has to reset that room 10 times a day as quick as possible. He's going to start taking shortcuts.
Yes.
You know?
But that's not on us.
No.
That's on them. So, let's go back to Escape Rhode Island. And, I really don't want to single out a lot of these places, but these are the places that really popped in my head when I read this article. How many times did we really needed something to write down with at Escape Rhode Island?
Yep.
Every single game we played. We talked to the game master and the designer.
Yep.
And he goes, well, the owners don't want it. Well, if you're designing the game, you design it so that they have it.
Yeah.
Come on.
Or the best one was when we did that speakeasy room, and he says, well, they didn't have wipe-off boards back in the 20s.
But they had chalkboards.
They had paper.
They had chalkboards.
They had chalkboards, you know?
Right. And they're, oh, yeah, huh. Uh-huh.
Or when you bring up the topic and people are just dumbfounded, like they've never heard that before.
Right.
Like we're the first people in history to say, hey, can we get a piece of scrap paper here?
Yeah. I think every single room needs some kind of a player aid of some sort. And then they tell you not to use your phones, but you have to use your phones anyway.
Yeah.
In order to remember stuff.
The other thing, too, is when you
or
have...
a calculator.
When you have more than one person in the room, usually the more people you get, there's someone going to be in that group that's more comfortable walking around with the writing thing, taking notes.
Right.
You know, we played this past weekend, and Stacy felt a lot more comfortable being a note taker.
Yeah, well, everybody has a job.
Because, you know, everyone, she's not as versed as me or Philip in actual being in the rooms.
Yep.
But she's good at writing, and she's good at figuring stuff out on paper.
Right.
And
Everybody needs a job in the room.
Yeah.
Really. We did the room, actually, Lee, you were with us. It was you, your wife, me, Philip, and we had Dick Rickley with us.
Dick Rickley.
And we had that tiny room in between the two rooms, that little closet.
Oh, God.
Nobody could see anything. Dick Rickley's the tallest one out of all of us, and he was the Statue of Liberty holding the torch up so everybody could see. Everybody needs a job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, that was a disservice, though, to
But
having to be...
Yeah. There's other parts in this, too. Like, if there's math, give us a calculator. I agree with that. I mean, granted, you have your cell phone, even though they tell you not to use your cell phone. I'm going to use it if there's not a calculator in there. A lot of the time. Also...
I'm going to go on a rant here.
1 second.
Okay.
Bonus, this also dodges the BODMAS bullet.
What does that mean?
I don't know. It's all capital letters.
It's an acronym of some kind.
Yeah. If we need torches, flashlights, or black lights, then one per team is rubbish, unless we only need to send one person off on their own to do it. Let's at least have one for everybody in the team.
Oh, definitely.
Yes.
Definitely.
So, that's... And I agree with that. I have no idea what BODMAS means, but...
Yeah, my big beef about rooms that have limited lighting and they have limited resources to provide that lighting. Like, for example, that first room we did, where El Gigante there was holding the light because he was the tallest guy there. It takes him out of the solving ability, but it also affects everybody else because now whoever has the ability to see is interactive with the game, and then people who can't do anything other than just sort of gravitate toward a light. So I think that's a detriment to the experience.
Yeah, no, I agree 100%.
So BODMAS is the ordering mathematical operations, brackets, orders, division, multiplication, addition, then subtraction. That's what that means. BODMAS.
And I was an English major. I didn't read the math stuff.
No, this is kind of like the new order of. It even says it's so that children can remember the order of mathematical operations. Okay, that makes sense.
No,
anyway,
I have a little rant here.
A little rant,
and it's going to be a little one.
That's fine.
But it goes right along with this topic.
Boring.
Thank you.
Yeah, baby, yeah.
That's great.
I think that you pay X amount of dollars per person to play this room.
Yep.
They're not free.
You're right.
You're spending your hard-earned money, and you have a very, very limited amount of time that you're going to be in this room. I'm a firm believer that as long as you're not giving away the secrets of the room to other groups, meaning you're not videotaping it, you're not taking pictures to post online, and you're not breaking the room in any way,
right?
and as long as everyone in the group is in agreement, that's your hour. If you want to go on your phone and use the calculator, you want to use the flashlight on your phone, you want to use your phone to take notes, you want to use your phone as a voice recorder to talk out certain codes, I have no problem with that at all. I think that, you paid for that hour.
Yep, I agree with you.
And
so far,
as long as you're not influencing anything on another group and you're not breaking anything in the room, that there's no reason to be penalized for it. There's no reason for the game master to come on and say you got to put your phones away, which has happened before. And
definitely
that could be an answer to some of these things. If you're not going to provide me with a piece of paper,
right?
You know what? Then I have to write it down on my phone. If you're not going to provide me with a calculator, and I got to start multiplying and dividing these larger numbers, I'm going to use my phone.
Right. No, I agree with you.
If you have to be down on your back looking around a corner underneath a cabinet, then yeah, I'm going to take a picture instead of trying to fit my fat head and fat body inside this cabinet. Where
I've done it.
Yeah. Yeah, no, we've done it. And
I'll delete the picture right in front of the people too, so I don't have it anymore.
I don't see where that becomes an issue. We have had game masters say, you know what? It's your dime. If you wanted to, we designed the room to be at this light level. If you want to use your flashlight on your phone, go right ahead. It's up to you.
Right.
It's going to ruin the experience for you, but what do we care?
Exactly.
And that's the way, in my opinion, it should be. And that's my little rant.
Hey, I agree with
Full
you.
one.
I was looking for my sound effect here that I don't have.
Because I'm so cool, I don't need additional sound effects.
Shabba!
Yeah, no, I agree with you. I agree with you 100%. It's our hour. We should be able to do what we want with it.
Yeah.
Pretty much. Moving on to the next thing here. You have 3 clues. I really don't care about having 3 clues or not having 3 clues or having infinite amount of clues. This day and age, actually in the 3 years we've been doing rooms, I don't think. I mean, yes, we've used up 3 clues and we've used 10 clues.
Yeah.
But I don't think we've ever purposely asked for clues, 3 clues really. Within the last year anyway, year and a half. When we first started, we kind of used them up.
Yeah.
But as far as that goes, nobody cares. I don't think anybody really cares about leaderboards anymore.
Oh, I disagree. I think
You do?
I think people love freaking leaderboards. We don't.
We don't. So
But I think a lot of people do. And I could see, if you're into the leaderboard, having a system that makes it fair. So then you say, okay, 3 hints. After that, you're not on the leaderboard.
right.
I
can see that.
I could see that. But what I can't see is, hey, after your 3rd hint, we're going to take off 5 minutes for every hint that we give you.
I think that's BS.
And Escapology does that.
Do they?
Yeah. When I was down there in Florida, they had that as one of their rules.
Well, they didn't do that up here.
But it's for clues that you ask for, not for ones that they give you.
And that's a lot of the time why we never ask.
Right, because we say, listen, we go down this rabbit hole, just nudge us a certain way.
Right.
Those are free, but to actually press the button and say, I need help, they say, you do that more than 3 times, we're going to take 5 minutes away, which I disagree with.
Not for nothing, what's the point in taking the 5 minutes away? Is that 4th clue going to give you extra 5 minutes to play? Now, if the room was an hour and 15 minutes and you have 3 clues and then they said every clue takes 5 minutes away, then you still have your hour after the 3rd clue.
Yeah.
But Personally, I don't think anybody should take any time off you for using clues. Like here it even says, come on, team needs as many hints as it needs, which is true.
Right.
It really, not everybody is as smart as the game designer thinks they are.
Right.
Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
I just came off the top of my head with that because it sounded like a tongue twister at first in my head.
Oh, you've been holding that
No.
in the holster for a while. Go on
No,
now.
I wasn't. But like here, an experienced team may not need any. An inexperienced team might practically need a walkthrough. We've been both.
Yeah.
We've been both. What is this doing is setting up new players to fail because they're scared to ask for help and they're stuck on the same puzzle, a fear of wasting a hint. I agree 100% with you.
Yeah.
There should, unless you really want to do leaderboards, and these leaderboards, I purposely only think, I really only think you should have leaderboards if there is a prize at the end of the month or at the end of the week or at the end of the certain period of time. Like,
Well, I think bragging rights are fine.
okay, bragging rights are fine, but if we're only going to go there once, how can we brag? They only have the one room. We shattered the freaking record. How are we ever going to know if somebody else beat us?
Yeah. I mean, it was nice to get our little
That's different.
trophy there.
That's different. That's a trophy because we were the third person to ever do it, and they posted it, and they're posting the fourth team did it.
Yeah.
So you go through their history, you can see it because it's online.
Yep.
Unless they post a leader every single week, or same time frame all the time, how are you ever gonna know
Yeah.
that you got beat or you didn't get beat? Unless you go back. Well, they have multiple games, say. They have all 4 games. You went through and did all 4 games. Now, you have no reason to go back there until they open a new game.
Yep.
So that's my thing with, like, leaderboards. It really doesn't matter with them. Unless you're getting a prize at the end of the month, and now every month, like, Escape Rhode Island erases them all except for the very top one that was set however many years ago, or it could have been set a month ago.
Yep.
But the very best time stays there all the time.
Well, down in Florida, the one that was next to the pork chop,
Yeah.
they kept the longest running ones up there, but they also kept it by the month and also kept it by the week.
Right.
So, in my mind, that's a good leaderboard.
That is.
Because that long-standing one's going to be there. And now, as a new team, you could say, okay, they've been on that leaderboard for a year now. That's our goal, is to beat that time.
Right. Which, actually, we did take 3 leaderboards and beat 1 best time
Goddamn, right, we did.
when we did that. But, so getting back to these clues, though, but this is what I'm saying about clues, is that it really shouldn't matter. It should be an infinite amount. People could just be that dumb that they just don't understand the room.
Yeah.
And that you need that much help. We've done it, I don't know how many times we've asked for clues in games, even closer to this day. Because we do rooms that are meant for bigger groups of people.
Yes.
So we need that extra help. We do.
Yeah.
Let's use 13th Hour
Yep.
as an example. The Grand Parlor.
Oh.
That giant room that could easily hold 20 people.
Yeah.
We needed a step almost every other puzzle
Yeah.
to help. Granted, it was also our last room for the day after 10 hours of doing rooms, but we
Lee, this
needed-
room was big enough that we were physically running from one part of a puzzle to another part of a puzzle because they were on opposite ends of this room,
on the second floor.
on 2 floors to the room. And
Oh, wow.
I mean,
Where was this?
Escape 13th Hour. Escape
Wharton, New Jersey.
Wharton, New Jersey, yeah.
and
Okay.
this is after doing 7 rooms,
5 other rooms before it. Yeah.
that day, and your brain is just goo, and now you got these 2 fat boys from Connecticut down there trying to run around. I was actually trying to run. I mean, it was.
I was back and forth. I
It
was
was-
humming back and forth. But it also had one of the best wow factors, and that was the cremation.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think,
besides that,
the other thing with clues is I think time has a lot to do with it. I think when we look and we've gone through 20 minutes and haven't done anything in a room, yeah, you have to ask for something. I think you get 10 minutes left in a room. Yeah, you got to ask for a clue because really your time's running out anyways. You know what I mean?
Yes.
So I think there's certain times where it just makes sense, but to put a limit on it, to me,
doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
Right. Like
I don't
right
like the
here.
idea of
Go ahead. Sorry.
I don't like the idea of limits just because when you're doing the game experience, there's people who are coming in there are bringing the excitement to the game too, and they have their own thresholds of assistance that they want, what kind of attention that they need from the people who design the games or always know the games where they're going.
Yep.
And and some people are going there. Yeah, maybe you're right. Maybe they're going for leaderboards and to try and win and have this competition thing with other teams or groups. Other people are just going there to have a good time and experience, to win or to walk away without winning it, but at least to come out with some sort of resolution at the end.
Yeah.
Don't care how many times you lose.
Yeah, no, you're right.
Mm-hmm.
You're 100% right.
There's another part to this question, like press button or scan this code for a clue. You're not watching the game, are you? This is just inexcusable. A team and its GM are symbolic. Splitting a GM across multiple games is bad enough. Not watching at all is a lawsuit waiting to happen. Both make a poor player experience. I agree with this 100%. Because we've played both ways. Not so much scan this code, but we've played where there is a tablet in the room that you could go through and put all your answers in as you're going. Yep. Now, that kind of takes away from the game experience. But if you needed a clue, you actually had to input all those answers that you found along the way in order to get to the thing.
Right.
So it was a great concept, poor execution of it.
Right.
Another one, now, press button or whatever. No, the game master should be paying attention to you for that full hour. No matter what. I don't care who it is, and we ran into this. You've walked out of the room and says, "Where the hell are you?" I've done it. Or like, "What the heck is this? Are you not listening?" It's not our problem that it's not our fault that your boss didn't want to hire somebody else to run the games with you.
Yep.
And didn't want to pay somebody. That's not on us. That is a very poor player thing. And we've ran into that actually more than we should really even want to admit.
Right.
Actually, we should want to admit it all the time. But we run into this more and more, I should say. And it's getting very tiresome.
I don't mind having a button.
No, I don't either.
That you press to communicate with the game master. To let them know, yeah, we want a hint right now. Because you could be just talking as a group, debating whether you want a clue.
Yeah.
And end up not wanting one, but the game master just might hear,
"Oh,
hey, can I get a clue?" And, throw one over. So having that button doesn't bother me. But like you said, what bothers me, and it bothers you just said it, is, "Oh, you want a clue? Well, what's the last thing you just opened?" Yes. Well, you're the game master. You don't know what we just did.
Right.
Okay, well, in the first room, did you open this box yet?
No.
Well, you should know we opened that box.
Right.
Or, there's a million different examples of it.
Exactly.
Or, I think personally, as soon as you hit that clue button, you should pause your time. How often do we ask for a clue? Takes 5 minutes to get back.
Yes. Okay, I see what you're saying. So yeah, it's on them to start your time.
So now, if it takes them 20 minutes to get back to us, fuck it. We still got that 20 minutes.
Yeah.
You
Instead of wasting that 20 minutes. Right.
Yeah, and we've been over 5 minutes waiting for clues.
Yes, and we've asked countless times.
Yeah. So I think that button is good for that.
Yes.
But
But then again, it also breaks your gameplay, breaks your immersion, breaks everything if you have to wait. Nobody should have to wait more than
a minute.
I was going to say 30 seconds. I'll be honest with you.
I agree with that. This to me is really the cardinal sin of a bad experience is when no one's paying attention to what you guys are doing.
Right. And
there's no excuse for that. The article is dead on right about that when it talks about the symbiotic relationship. There's no way on earth that you should be left alone in the room experience, stuck on something, penalized by time, lose your joy of the experience because you realize now that maybe you're in a place that's got 3 or 4 rooms and there's only 1 or 2 people working a thing, and now you're just flopping and lost it.
And we've had that happen.
Yes.
We've actually walked out of a room during a game because we couldn't get a hold of our game master, and the game master is out talking to another group of people.
Right.
Trying to get them into the
Situated.
next game.
Which there should always be another person there to run.
Right.
Which is what's great. Again, not that I really want to keep bringing up places, but this is on a positive note. Key to Escape.
Yes.
In Nashua, New Hampshire, is a prime example of what you should do for game mastering.
Yes.
They have one person run one game.
Yes.
If you have 4 games booked in the same hour, there's 4 different people running those games.
Yes.
One person per game.
Yep.
They claim, and as far as I can see, they'll never have one game master running multiple games ever. Yep. Doesn't matter.
And from
they got to pick up Joe
seemed
Schmo off
about
the
it.
street to cover a 5th game. They're gonna do that.
Yeah.
And that's the way it should be. I don't care who you are or where you are or what it is. That's the way it should be. Or maybe you can't book 4 games in a row at the same time, and you can only book one of your 4 games every hour.
And we've seen that with bookings sometimes where we've wanted to book multiple games in a row. And as soon as you book the first one, then the rest of the things in that time slot
Are gone.
Yeah. Which is great. I mean, it's not great for they're trying to make money, but it's great for the players.
Right.
And it's good for their reputation.
Right.
But when it comes down to it, it's customer service. That's the bottom line fundamental piece of this.
Yeah, it really is. You're right.
And also, you have circumstances where when we played Skeleton Key, right?
Mm-hmm.
I need a clue. Well, my computer went down.
Whose fault's that?
Well, okay. Well, we can't do anything. You can't write it on a piece of paper and slide it under the door.
Right.
You can't have someone just stick their head in to say, okay, here's the next clue.
Right.
I mean, there's a million ways around it, but, when they can't figure out what to do because there's a glitch in the system somewhere, or even Escape 101.
Go ahead.
We're down there. More than enough game masters because they're all sitting around the thing, and the actual game master himself isn't paying attention.
Right.
He's on his phone. He's turning around talking to us. He's watching everything except the screen in front of him.
Yep.
And that's the game master. That's
right. Now you brought up Skeleton Key.
Yes.
Now here's the next subject. No GM overrides. You brought up Skeleton Key.
Yep.
They had a glitch in the system. Technology is great when it works. When it doesn't, what are you going to do? A team enters a code correctly, but a bit too quickly / slowly for the automated system to recognize it. The GM should be able to hit a big red button to let them continue.
Yep.
We've all played games where staff had to run in the room and address something that happens. It happens. Sure. But should this then not prompt a review by the venue? Why did this happen, and how do we prevent it from happening?
What did Masterpiece say?
Everything needs to work every single time, whether you do it or they do it.
That's the best quote in
Since
in
day
the
one of
games.
this podcast, since day one of these video reviews, we've lived and died by that saying.
Yeah.
But, like I said, you brought up Skeleton Key. Everything needs to work technology-driven. They're technology-driven. They were technology. They're completely out of business now. Now, they should have had cards pre-made up, even if they were laminated, being that they are a corporate structure, corporate company, should have had cards already pre-printed in case the computer did go down, so you could slide those under the door.
Well, being a corporate company, their thing is, well, there's only one manager here that knows how to restart the system. We have to wait for him to come in. Well, why isn't there more than one person that knows how to do this? How come that person isn't on staff all the time?
Right.
You know?
Right.
I mean, I'm not a computer guy, but it would seem to me that when I'm working, more than me knows how to turn the water on to water plants.
Yep.
You know? It's just one of those things. But
Yeah, if you're relying on technology for every component of it, you have to expect that there's going to be some situation that'll happen. I mean, if you lose power and there's no lights, whatever, that's one thing. If you suffer a technological glitch, that there's a non-technical way to get around, like you mentioned, knocking on doors, someone now is your guardian angel and they can make commentary for you on some things, to help save the experience, then they should invoke and being creative in how to do that. If it's like you said, putting in a little note under the door saying, sorry, we had an issue going on, X is your clue, whatever it's got to be to help try and save that experience for the people in the room.
Right.
yeah.
Right. I agree. Everything's got to work every single time, no matter what.
Yeah, and there's been games that we've been in that we're pretty positive they triggered it.
Well, let's use Escape New Haven for an example. Their brand new, their newest room before Moonrise,
Which is a great room.
which is a very good room, and it's all tech driven.
Very techy.
Okay, something while we were in that room. The program itself, it's programmed that if something goes wrong with one of the puzzles, it automatically jumps to the second puzzle, to the next puzzle in line.
Yep.
And we were like, whoa, did we just skip over something? And yes, the GM came in. Something else happened too. But the GM came in and says, yes, it's programmed that if something goes down, then it triggers the next puzzle.
Yep.
And so everything has to work every single time. And it did. It skipped over whatever we needed to do and jumped into the next puzzle that we needed to do next, which I thought was done very well. What was it? The phone that went down, so we got our clues.
Yeah.
And so we couldn't get the coin that we needed to do what we had to do, but he gave us the coin anyway, and we were able to get on to the next.
Well, another good example of that is we just played a room. Me and Philip and Stacy, where there's a door that you with a keypad, you put it in, and we had the right number. And saying it out loud, we put it in 3 times. I got fat sausage fingers hitting the wrong button. When that door opened, it was opened a split second before I hit the enter button. So I know
They triggered it.
They saw me do it 3 times. They heard me saying the code out loud 3 times. They knew it was the right one. It's just I'm the idiot that can't work a keypad.
Yes.
And they hit it, and you appreciate that.
No, yeah, you do. There's been countless rooms where we've asked them, did you trigger that? on
Yeah.
us?
Or as opposed to
And they
Lock
may
and
say
Clue.
No. I was going to use them next.
right, where the tolerances are so tight that the door doesn't open. Well, you know what? After you did this for 20 minutes with the same result, press the damn button.
Yes.
And
he did.
Yeah.
He did.
After 5 minutes, press the button.
Actually, he did that a couple times on us in that room.
Yeah.
Because the shit is, sorry about the language, but it was just a pain in the ass to do it.
Fuck that guy.
I'm just saying for our podcast. Because we try not to swear on this podcast.
You guys are doing an admirable
And
job.
drink. Meatballs.
Meatballs.
Anyway,
Okay, we kind of got off topic though. Where are we now?
we're at split-second failures. We just did GM overrides. We're all right.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just rolling it
No.
up there. But
No,
no,
the split second.
yeah,
We
go
didn't
ahead.
talk about that. The split second failures, it defines as like, if a team finishes everything with 1 extra second needed, some places will say, sorry, you didn't do it in 60 minutes. You lost. Whereas it was like 1 second. Do you basically give it to them like rounding up a grade in school?
I do. I give it to
I
them.
would say yes.
We've had ones that we've counted as a win that
We had the code. We
Yeah.
just didn't punch it in.
we had the code and we put it in wrong or
We got the last number at the last second. Time went off.
yeah.
We count it as a win, whether they do or not. We do. Because we had the code,
Yeah.
we just couldn't enter it.
Yeah, I think if you're there, I mean, you got to use common sense. If you finished the last puzzle and it's a matter of you inserted the code wrong or
It's a 10-digit code that you got to type into something that takes time to type in.
yeah, whatever. I mean, you won. You won the game.
We did the speakeasy at Escape Rhode Island. This is a prime example. You have to find out who killed who,
Yep.
with what, and something else. And why.
Yeah.
Something like that.
It was like Clue.
Yeah, it was like Clue. You had to find 3 different things. Now, once you found out those 3 things, I didn't know it, you didn't know it until the end, because we found it all out. There was 3 barrels you actually had to turn in order to
Yes.
finish it, and that's what opened the door.
Yes.
So we had it, we just didn't input it, and we ran out of time anyway, but we got it at the nick of time.
Yeah.
So I consider that a win, even though we didn't move the barrels and have the door open.
Well, the first time we did that Pharaoh room, the first incarnation, and we did it at Laura's, right?
Yes.
Where we did everything. We got the scarab, and you got to put the scarab on the sarcophagus.
Right.
We didn't know we had to do that. We thought we just had to get the scarab.
But that, in all reality, we beat that room still with 20 minutes left to do.
Yeah, but still, I mean,
still.
we got it. We got the scarab out.
There was nothing telling us where to
and
put
now
it.
we're just standing there BSing.
And she's like,
about-
"Oh, you got to finish this here." And-
Yeah.
But there was nothing telling us that we had to finish that.
Yeah.
So yes, we consider it a win as long as you got the answer to the last riddle, code, whatever it is. We consider that a win.
But if time runs out and there's still 5 puzzles left,
Right.
I mean, yeah,
Different story.
that's the loss.
But here you can see like team progress. If you're gonna have a split-second failure, maybe have teams win the bad ending rather than outright fail. That's actually not a bad idea. Or hey, the killer stopped to take a pee. You escaped with 60. Your escape time is 60 minutes 5 seconds.
The one that sticks in my mind is the one in Watertown that just closed. With the fog at the end.
Yep.
He gassed the system.
Yep.
It was a game where it's a prison and
Yep.
you have to
You're in the warden's office.
Yeah, you have to get out of the warden's office in an hour. If not, there's a prisoner that's going to gas the whole
Prison.
jail system and kill everybody.
Yep.
We didn't make it out, and they had a fog machine up in the rafters there, up in the
In the ducts,
in the vent, and it fogged the whole room. And it was actually better to lose that game than it was to win it because
Yeah.
you got to experience that.
You're saying it was not a white collar prison.
Correct.
So
I think to me it's similar to like when you go see like the house wrestling shows, that they used to do in the territory days or whatever.
Yep.
You'd see the bad guy and the good guy go at each other. The bad guy might win the match at the end of the night. The Ric Flair, the world champion, walks away with the title, but the hero of the contest still comes out victorious in the eyes of the fans. I consider the same kind of thing here.
I can see that.
Yeah, kind of like that. Exactly. Yeah, definitely.
So split second failures. I think if people, if you had one more puzzle to do, give them extra 5 minutes.
And we've hit some really cool game masters that have been like, you know what, these guys are just banging this stuff out. They just need, it's a room that takes 8 people. They're banging it out with 2 people,
Yep.
and they've given us an extra 10 minutes or 15 minutes. And, it's nice to all of a sudden turn around and you go from 5 minutes left to 15 minutes left.
Yeah, well,
know?
Sometimes you notice, sometimes you don't. I've noticed that too.
Yeah.
But I mean, it is what it is. It's an experience.
I think if you're getting beat by the game, and there's games that just beat you, it's a loss. And they're not all going to be home runs, because if everyone was a home run and you beat everyone with a half hour left, it wouldn't be worth doing.
Yeah, you wouldn't want to do them anymore.
But I think that if you're beating that game and you just need a little bit more time, and they modify that timing for you, I think that's a great thing.
Yes.
As long as it doesn't affect, like, let's say the schedule of, like, there's another team waiting to play, and they have to reset the room, and it's going to take X amount of time.
Yeah.
As long as it doesn't really that experience, you're not imposing on someone else's paid time.
Yeah, no, I agree with that.
I do.
But everyone wants to walk away feeling like they've you know what, the game really got. We just need another couple minutes. We would have done it. Been fine. Some we walked away with a positive feeling versus like, wow, this is like playing Jeopardy or doing New York Times on the Saturday. You're like, wow, I suck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely. Yeah.
But you find it more with the mom and pop shops that they will allow an extra 10 to 15 minutes.
They want you to be happy.
Exactly. And if you look at their bookings are usually an hour and a half difference.
Yeah.
Because nothing ever really starts on time.
Yep.
And nothing ever ends on time.
Yep.
So they give themselves that extra half an hour time booking to be able to give somebody an extra 5 minutes in the room, or to sit and explain, say you had 10 more puzzles to go through, and explain the rest of the room to you, and then still have time to reset it.
Or if it's the last booking of the night. Yeah. Or it also comes down to the team. If it's a team of enthusiasts that are people that they're friendly and they like to talk about the rooms and they like to talk about the experiences, a lot of these mom and pop places thrive on that because they put so much into it and they deal with so many people that just come and go and they play their game. Here's your money. I'll see you later. Mm-hmm. That when you hit that group of enthusiasts that your personalities are clicking and they did a good job and they're having fun and everything's going good. As a owner, you just put $30,000 into this room. If someone wants to sit there and talk to you about it, I'd sit there and talk to them about it.
Right.
I'd be proud of what I built.
Exactly. I agree with that. Moving on to the next one.
Darkness.
Yeah. Difficulty by darkness. The number one pet peeve. Lighting is powerful and mood lighting is essential to creating an atmospheric game. Lighting is not a means of making things arbitrarily more awkward. Spending the entire game in half light, squinting at locks, going, is this a 8 or a 6, or trying to do it.
Not a good one.
Differentiate between a red and orange under a dim amber light.
Yep.
It's just simply annoying. Yes. Dark. If you have a dark room, that means you have something to hide. Most of the time. 99% of the time.
That's the rumor.
The 1% is the box.
Yep.
Because it progressively gets lighter as you go.
Yep.
So you're never completely in the dark.
Yep.
You just start in the dark. But a game like, although kind of liked the game but kind of didn't, the Surgeon game at Portsmouth Escape in New Hampshire.
Yep.
It was very dark, but that was the theme they were going for. But it was annoying to have a strobe light keep going. I mean, I'm not epileptic, but You needed a constant light in order to do and see everything.
And it was meant to get on your nerves.
Yes.
It was meant to get on your nerves. I think that mood lighting is one thing. I think that, hey, I have 0 decorations in this room, so I'm just going to put it in the dark, is another thing.
I got to hide all these wires, so now I'm just going to keep it in the dark.
Yeah. And, again, in my mind, it goes back to the argument of, I just paid an hour for this. If I want to use my flashlight on my phone,
Yep.
I'm gonna. And how many places yell at you, it's a dark room, it's meant to be dark, don't pull your phone out. Well, then I can't see in the dark. I'm not a freaking bat.
Right. Exactly.
But,
exactly.
I mean, how many times have we started out locked in a dark space?
Yep.
Which, in my mind, is fine. The basement of 13th
Yes.
Gate.
The dungeon. Yeah. And blindfolded
Yeah, where it's, you're meant to be
in the dark.
in the dark. You're in a dungeon and you're blindfolded and you're in a cell.
But see, that dark, yes, you're blindfolded, all this stuff. You take the blindfold off after he tells you the time starts. But you're not really completely pitch black. You are, but you're not.
It was damn close.
It was, because you had to do other things to light stuff up so you
Yeah.
could see things. But once you got out of that, it was dimly lit, but that was more of mood and theatrical lighting than it was trying to hide something.
Yeah.
And trying to be difficult.
Yep.
You're in a basement. You're not going to have the brightest lights in a basement.
Right.
Or a dungeon. You're not going to have the brightest lights in a dungeon.
Right. Now,
Think about it.
we did a game in, again, he's not there anymore, in Watertown, where it was black.
Yes.
And one
Yep.
person, I could give spoilers because they're not there anymore.
Yeah, go for it.
One person had to spin the wheel of a
Wheelchair. Yep.
in order to keep the light on. Now, it's annoying. It's tiresome.
Actually, Fred broke it.
We broke it. Now, is that part of the room? Is that part of the effect of the room? Or is that part of, hey, this room really isn't the best that we have, and this is how we made the room harder?
Right.
We've also done ones where I think, like the Podunk.
Podunk had to do the same thing.
But in Podunk, I think it fit the theme of being a bunker that you had to get the power on.
Right.
So you had to do what you had to do to get the power on.
You're right. You're 100% right.
That to me fits the theme. The one in Watertown didn't fit the theme. Room with a Clue. Was it Room with a Clue?
Yeah, Room with a Clue.
Yeah.
It was this one here, I think.
Now, Lee, I don't think you've done any in the dark with us, have you?
I've been in the one we did, and then one I think it was one of my first ones with you guys, where it was darker but not immersed in darkness.
First ones you did with us was
Like, remember the
Starry Night, wasn't it?
Yeah, which there was definitely darkness in that room.
It was dimness. Yeah.
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 Oh, up at Skeleton Key?
Yeah, Skeleton Key.
Yeah, no, we've been in some that you can't see your hand in front of your face. Dark. But, yeah, what's your, I mean, I know you haven't been in that room, but do you have a take on that?
Not. I mean, there should be definitely a sufficient light, especially if different people have different capabilities and sensitivities and light wise. But I think that the experience should be, let it. You should be able to process it without being, dangerous to knock into something or have to really scurry around. It depends on the nature of the room.
Yeah, definitely.
I agree with that.
And again, I go back and forth a little bit. I think if it's meant to be an asset of the room because it's part of the theme of the room and it adds to it, that's fine. But at the same time, I always go back to, I just paid for this hour. If I want to turn my flashlight on, to look around this room and see what's around me, it shouldn't make a difference to you because I did it. I paid for the room.
No, I agree with that. Personally, we've always heard it that if the room is dark, the reason is it's not a very good room.
Yeah.
Look at the room that we walked out in Orlando.
Yes.
How dark was that very first room?
Yes.
How dark was the second room?
Yes.
Why? Because they were hiding all their blemishes and all their garbage that they didn't want people to just see normally.
Yes.
They're hiding their faults. Yeah, that's like the prime example right there. Sorry, I was looking up Room with a Clue. I was hoping maybe the website would have still been up, but it isn't.
No,
I just wanted to
I
read
tried
the
this
website.
afternoon.
So anyway, back now down to the last thing: process, puzzles, and punishing players, or a nifty bit of alienation. I don't know. Go ahead. No, go ahead.
The alliteration and stuff like that. It's
Alliteration.
Penalties. There's, like you guys talked about this a little bit earlier.
Yep.
About, you don't do something, it times out on you, things like that.
That irks the living hell out of me. Timeouts.
Yeah.
Especially when it comes to a safe.
Yes.
That's why now we've implemented our own rule that, and if we ask if there's a safe in the room, first of all. Second of all, we ask if we say the code out loud first, will you tell us if it's right or wrong?
Yeah. We did one. Now, again, most of these rooms, are 60-minute rooms. We did one that the safe, which you got to fairly early in the game, had a 15-minute lockout if you put the wrong number in. So
A quarter of your game.
Yeah, a quarter of your game is lost just by inputting the wrong number. And we did that. We put the wrong number in.
Yep.
And it was just unbearable.
Good thing the rest of the room was fairly easy to go through, and they weren't that smart with their puzzles. But
Yeah.
and we were able to bust out. We also had Becca and 6 other people.
Yeah.
But not the point.
But
15-minute lockout.
that was just... So, yeah, we do ask from now on that, hey, you have this safe here. If we just yell out the number, will you tell us if it's right? Because we don't want to play around with that.
And that's actually his first thing here. Actually, out of the gate, actual game time penalties can get in the C. We've paid for that time.
Yeah.
And safes is like the first thing. Okay, manufacturers, we understand that. Well, if that's the case, then maybe not get digital safes.
Yeah.
There's nothing stopping you from going and buying a keypad setup and making your own safe.
Yes.
I did it.
Yeah.
I sold it.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Or, see, now, process puzzles and punishing players. I'm also going to take in what we talked about earlier about the clues and getting punished for using a fourth clue.
Yep.
Shouldn't happen. I would think that that's right in here, process puzzles and punishing players. You shouldn't have to punish players. There's nothing there saying that, okay, you did that wrong, so you can take 10 minutes off for you.
Right.
Just like the game in Orlando that we walked out on.
You guessed, so we're going to take 5 minutes off.
There is an element of guessing in these games.
You're supposed to guess.
There
I mean,
is
if
an
you
element.
knew the answer, it wouldn't be a puzzle.
Right.
And along with that, I think you're punishing players when the game master takes more than a minute to get back to you with an answer.
And that's where your whole thing is push the button in, and that stops your time.
Yeah. If it takes 5 minutes to get back, well, that's 10% of the game.
Mm-hmm.
And 10% of the game is lost because you're picking your nose talking to somebody.
Right.
You're punishing me for that.
I agree with that. There shouldn't be any kind of punishment. And then
No,
go ahead. Sorry.
You're the customer.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, you're going there for a positive experience, whether you win the game or you lose the game. You know, and I guess it's kind of like people play like Words with Friends versus Scrabble. You know, what rule set do you want to go in there playing under? Yeah, if you just if you walk in there and the rules are da, 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 and it's just not for you, you know what? Then maybe you either go in there with a different mindset, or you tell them, you know, what's the point? It's not for you.
Yeah.
No, exactly.
Yeah. You
And-
that way you know going in, and it's your choice if you're gonna play.
Right. It's just like us. I'm not saying that we're anybody special or anything like that, but
My mommy says I'm
yeah,
special.
your mommy's wrong. We don't go in and tell people that we are reviewers.
Not till the end.
Try not to. There's one time we did, and I think, well, a couple times that we did, and I think it was pretty good for us, but I think it also put other people on their toes more and gave us a false positive.
Yeah.
We try not to tell anybody that we do reviews. Of course, we're also not looking for any kind of free things or anything like that. So we don't mention it. We pay full price 99% of the time.
No begging here.
Yeah, no begging here. But we don't tell anybody that we're reviewers, simply because we want to experience the real experience that these people will give you, that these GMs, that these game masters and these managers and these other employees would give anybody off the street that wants to play the game.
Yeah.
We ran into this. We played 2 games. The place is now closed.
Yes.
And we have no idea what their real name was because they went by 2 different names. It was up in
Yep.
Norwich. And we were looking forward to these games.
Yep.
And we had nothing but a bad experience. And this is where we talked earlier that you walked out.
Yep.
We asked for a clue, waited a few minutes, asked for the clue again, waited for a few minutes. We could hear the lady talking outside. We had no idea what she was doing until finally you walked out into the room, Phil, or into the hallway and says, "Hey, where's our goddamn clue?" "Oh, well, I'm trying to get the other group." Two game masters.
Yep.
All right. We gave them a bad review on our video page at the time. And the person who owned the place commented saying, "Well, if you told us you were reviewers, we would have treated you better." We don't want that. That was the whole point of it.
In my mind, that's the worst thing you could say.
That is the worst thing. That means that you run a shitty business.
Yeah.
And you purposely treat people like crap unless they're a review company or a review group that may give you a great review if you treated them right.
Yeah.
No. That's why we don't. Try not to tell anybody.
That's like saying, "Hey, listen, you know what? We're going to review this place, and it gets kind of expensive. Could we get a break? Because, you know, we're going to review you." And not saying that it's going to affect the review, but, you know, if we could get it for free, you know, maybe the review's a little bit better.
Or, you know, can you give us a discount and we'll mention you on our TV show or our video show or our podcast or this or that.
We'll
We'll put you on your website.
participation award.
Yeah, we'll give you this, that, the other thing. No, we don't care. We want the real. How do you say it?
Experience.
Experience. You're right. We want the real experience from day one. Now people know who we are. Don't get me wrong. We just did our 250th room,
No.
and they're like, "Oh, if we remembered that was you guys, why'd you pay for the room? We would have given it to you for nothing." It's like, because we want to pay for the room.
We were up in New Hampshire, that one we did at the end of the day, Portsmouth,
Yep.
right, where the girls were playing, and it was the end of the day. We didn't have reservations. Walked in on a limb. What's the first thing the girl says to me?
Oh, we heard your
She
podcast.
goes, "I know who you are."
Yeah. Oh, that was the trip that we actually told people we do the podcast.
Yeah. She says, "I know who you are. We've seen you on TV."
We talked to you through email, and we
Yeah.
totally forgot we both talked to them through email. Or no, we didn't think we were going to have enough time, so we never answered back. And we had enough time.
But it is cool to walk in and have
Yes.
people say, "Oh yeah, I know who you are."
Right.
But getting back to the topic, I mean, we are getting a little,
But, well, punishing players.
you know. I think the other thing I think inadvertently punishes players, and I don't know if it actually falls into this or one of the other topics, is the use of colors.
Well, let's add our own thing to it.
You know, you can't, and I'm the first one to say, you can't make a whole business of puzzles without having colors of some kind
Involved, right?
Yeah, you can't.
No, you're 100%.
It's just
100%.
you
right.
know. But when you have a room that's 90% color, like we've done the Lego room, or I don't know if it was a Lego room, but it was a toy room.
The toy room, right?
You know, and you get someone like me that's colorblind, then you know you spend 3/4 of the room just sitting there.
Right.
You know, and is that, I don't know if that's considered punishing me, but I think that when you bring this up, a lot of the designers don't even realize that there's a certain number of people that just can't physically do this game. Or the other thing would be flashing lights. You do flashing lights to make a code. Some people have problems with that.
Right.
You know, it causes, you know, the spins or whatever.
Epileptic.
Or the other thing
Seizures.
that gets me is, and you can do this one easy. I can't get it for the sake of my life. But when it's a musical one, and there's
just
tones,
hearing the notes. Yeah.
and you have to match the tones. You know, I know it's a popular thing to do because it's different. But some people, like myself, I can't do it to save my life. So to me, that falls under punishing a player inadvertently.
Inadvertently, yes. Some people could be tone deaf and everything sounds the same. To you, colors blend together, so most colors look the same. You sent me a picture of the art store
Yeah.
of every single color. Now you just said it all looks the same to me.
Yeah. I see 4 colors there, and you're like,
Yeah.
there's 400 colors
Right.
there.
Right. Actually, I had shown Steph that, and she's, whoa. But no, you're 100% right. And we brought that up, and people are like, "Oh wow, never even thought about color blindness." And then other people were like, "Yeah, but gave pretty much the explanation that you can't do everything perfectly all the time."
Right.
And yes, you do need colors.
Or
But if you used prime colors and not colors that look identical,
right, keep them as far apart on the color wheel as possible.
you could do black and white, but not do gray.
Yeah.
Okay, gray's gonna look more white to you.
Well, to me, gray and silver are just about identical.
They are.
They're
I would say
they're
they are.
they're identical to me.
And we've run into that.
And well, this one's gray and this one's silver. Well, how am I
Yeah.
supposed to know?
Right.
You know,
I
a
remember
lot of reds and oranges,
reds and oranges,
greens and yellows.
greens and yellows, blue and purple.
Yeah.
Of course, red and blue make the purple, but if you put a red and a blue together, there is a chance you're going to see a difference.
How many times have I said to you, "Oh, it's yellow," and you're like, "What? The green one?"
Right.
There's no
Or,
yellow on there.
That's yellow. What do you mean, the white one?
Yeah.
Just little, or that's white. What do you mean, the yellow one?
Yeah.
Just because of the way the lighting was, that right?
Yeah.
No, and granted, we learned to work that way, but
And the other thing that goes along with it, and being 2 short little meatballs, is the height of things.
yes,
You know, if you're meant to be viewed head on, then you could either have a stool there, or
Right.
have it be some kind of an adjustment thing where it adjusts up and down.
right,
Because if it's meant to be viewed at a certain height and you're 4 inches below that height, you get a totally different answer.
and we've run into that
A couple times.
a couple times. Even grabbing things above doorways.
Yeah.
There should be a stool, or you can call it a cheater if you have to, if you want to, but it should be something that you can use.
Yeah.
There should be player aids.
Yeah.
That's where it comes down to, player aids
Yeah.
on all reality. You have anything on this, Lee?
No, I'm good.
He's just listening to us ramble. And then last, there's ask yourself the 3 F's. Is it fair? Is it fun? Or is it frustrating?
Those are a good standard right there.
It is.
That's a good set of questions.
It is. And I think we should implement those 3 questions,
With the 4th one,
well, into our reviews.
is it filling?
Is it fulfilling?
Fulfilling.
Is it fulfilling? I like that.
Because we've played games where we walked out and said, geez, that was a great game. I could have used 2 more puzzles in it.
But I could have.
We've played other games that you walked out and we say, I don't have to play another game. I'm good for tonight. But I like having those questions there. As he's typing it into his computer. So he doesn't
we
forget
gotta
them.
remember them.
So he doesn't forget them.
I think the right kind of game combines all elements of all. There should be a little frustration because you don't want it to be too easy. You want the challenge. It has to be fun because that's why we bother doing it.
Yep.
And fair. Yeah. There's things. Sometimes there's some parts of the game that you just may get without the assistance, and you shouldn't be penalized for saying, "Hey, I need help on this." As long as you're calling out and asking for it in one way, shape, or form, I have no problem with it making it its way to make it equitable.
And I think the other side of being fair is we've played some games that the puzzles are just so hard that the guy did it to prove he's smarter than you. We did one in Connecticut here where it took the guy that created it 3 or 4 tries to get the thing lined up right, and he still couldn't do it.
Which is the same place we talked about.
The
where
door
it said "Do not touch" stickers.
Right. So in my mind,
yeah.
if the guy that created it can't do it within, 3, 4, 5 tries, that's not really a fair puzzle.
Well, look at Lock and Clue, where the owner couldn't get the tolerances right on the first
On
one
his game.
on his own game.
Yeah.
That he bitched about that we were doing it wrong.
Yeah.
Well, he just couldn't take another person who couldn't take constructive criticism or criticism in general.
Right.
That was a whole company like that. But
no, I think you're right, Lee. I think it is a combination of all of those, and I think that's a good gauge. I think it really is. I think that's the way we're going to look at it now.
yeah, I mean, we take it as too. Is it fulfilling? Let's look at the game. Same place, Lee, you and your wife were there. I think it was your first escape room. It's that place, but me and Little Philip and Becca did the last 2 rooms there.
Yep.
There was one game, was great.
An incredible,
Really well done, wow factor, the whole 9 yards. We
the
beat
best
it
immersion we had seen it up to that point.
at this place. We did great. Beginning to end was phenomenal, except for the fact that when we won, we still had almost a half an hour left.
Right.
And we were satisfied, but we were pissed because it only took us a half hour to get through it. And we said, you know what? If we had 2 more puzzles in this game,
Yep.
that would have been a 15-minute thing at least. And because you know us, we're not looking to get out in a half an hour. We paid for an hour. We want to experience the whole room.
Yep.
And so that's where we get with fulfillment. We were not fulfilled.
Yeah. And more and more when we do these games and we walk out, that is one of the first things we say is either, you know what, I could really go for another game.
Yep.
Or I'm good.
I'm good.
One and done. I'm
Yeah.
good. Let's go home. Let's grab something to eat.
Right.
And
I agree.
I think that's a good one to add on to there. But I think we nailed this list.
I think we did too. I think we're all done with this.
Lee, do you have any other topics that go along with this list that you think should have been added?
There's probably more, but I think that for this podcast, I think we could probably conclude it with thanking Mr. Chu for putting together such a comprehensive list.
Yeah.
And then future podcasts, we can delve in this further. Like, one of the things that comes to mind is, of this list, what one is the priority that you guys would feel needs to be paying attention to the most? This one's in no particular order that was presented to us.
Yep.
Right.
But, so there's things we can definitely dive into further. And even some of the commentary that was done earlier with respect to, you guys don't advertise when you go into a place who you are, and people figure it out at some point. But that's just like, a food critic. They don't necessarily want to be noticed criticizing a restaurant. They want to go there as a regular person that's experiencing and don't have any specialized treatment because they want to be able to report on the authentic experience.
Yep. Of course, we do walk in there with a shirt in that the whole front of the shirt says DIU Escape Crew, and a printed bandana that says DIU Escape Crew, and a sweatshirt.
You'd be surprised. You would be surprised that people don't notice it, though.
Right.
That's what's great.
And that is a good segue into, if you are looking for swag, hop on our website.
DIUEscapeCrew.com.
And pick up all the swag you want.
All the swag, man.
Many different designs.
So much stuff.
You could be part of the crew. The Escape Crew.
Check us out on Facebook. Check us out on Twitter. It's all DIU Escape Crew. CRUE, spelled like Motley Crue.
Yeah.
We want to thank Lee for coming on to the show tonight.
The bad man.
And thank you, boys.
Yeah. And giving us his perspective of some of these things on this. What is the article from Review the Room. Things escape rooms need to stop doing in 2022. I know we went off subject here and there and whatnot and little tirades, but thank you, Mr. Alan Coo, whatever your last name is, from reviewtheroom.co.uk.
When he listens to this podcast, he could hit us back up with the pronunciation of his name.
Yeah, we'll tag him in it. We'll tag the place in it anyway. I follow them on Facebook. They are a review website. They're more based in the UK. They have some reviews in the US. They have quite a bit of things in here. Full list of reviews, rating system. I like to actually. I want to see this because their rating system is pretty cool. 1 bulb to 5 bulbs. Okay. 1 bulb. Avoid doing this unless you desperately need your escape room fix. Although you may come away feeling worse than you did before you went in.
Been there.
Done that.
Been there, done that.
I just had to read that one because that is like the greatest thing. 5 stars.
I could think of 3 rooms off the top of my head that fit into that.
And then 5 stars. To get 5 stars, you've got to be pretty special. Something about the room, your organization, and the GM will have stood out as being better than the norm and are close to perfection. Definitely do these rooms. So
I could see that.
We've had that too.
Yeah.
But I still love that. Avoid doing this room desperately unless you need your escape room fix. And yes, we've done rooms like that just to get the escape room fix. So, but anyway, again, thank you everybody for tuning in.
Thank you, Lee.
Yes, Lee, thank you again.
I think Lee's been on more than anyone else right now.
So far.
Yeah. We got to keep that streak going.
He's a returning guest.
That's a good thing or bad thing?
Hey, we've had two real guests on this podcast, and you were the very first in-studio guest.
Yep.
And you're now our third in-studio guest.
Yep.
Or not in studio, but now remote guest.
Yep.
And I think we're going to make this happen a little bit more. I like talking about these topics and not so much reviewing and pretty much saying the same thing over and over and over again. Well, this was a different way of doing it. We have almost 2.5 hours of a podcast here, and it didn't feel like it's been that long.
Well, we had said on our very first show that not only was it going to be review, but all things kind of gamey and all things
escape room.
Yeah, escape
related,
room gaming.
Not gamey. But
yeah, all things
room.
Around the escape room experience.
Yes.
And, this fits right into it. We've done a couple other things similar. But, yeah, it is good to talk about things that aren't so specific to a specific room.
Right.
And you don't have to worry about spoilers.
Well, especially some of the ones we did, because the places we talked about, a lot of them are closed.
Yeah.
So it is what it is. There are no spoilers. But we're going to find some more articles. Lee, if you come across any, if you're bored and you're just looking through and you think, oh, this would be pretty cool to talk about.
Yeah.
Bring it in. Anybody on?
Yeah,
anybody in our? Hold on 1 second. Let's just throw this plug in, and then I'll have you talk. Anybody who thinks they got a good article, send it to us on Facebook. DIU Escape Crew.
CRUE.
Like Motley Crue.
Yes.
Go ahead, Lee.
I was going to say there's definitely some topics I would love to, because of my own personal curiosity, I would just share publicly on your take on certain things that we've seen or some of the things you guys have seen that I have yet to do. So I look forward to more or less addressing the question, you guys. Yeah, exactly.
Q&A with us, with you hosting. Yes.
That could be a scary thing.
Because he's a bad man.
He's a bad man.
But again, thank you everybody for tuning in. I'm Dom.
That is Dom, and I am Phil.
That's Phil.
And that is Lee.
Is it?
That's me.
That's the rumor.
Ladies and gentlemen, good night.
Until next time. Peace out.
Hear from us when you hear from us.